evening to one and all present here. I hope you are keeping well. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the fifth chapter of TEDxIIM Rohtak. Our aim through this event is to enlighten you all with numerous ideas by our speakers from diverse walks of life and to create a community of spreading ideas. A lot of unprecedented changes have been happening around the world, and our event is no anomaly. Given the challenges of organizing an event on the online mode, we were all in a dilemma whether to go for the virtual mode or to wait long enough for things to return to normalcy. However, we also realized how important it is to spread such ideas during such challenging times. Thus, we took the bold move of going virtual. Well, while at any external event sees great minds from sharing great ideas. That being said, this time we have a lineup of 5 excellent speakers who will definitely bring something new to the table. The talks have been curated and diversified in such a manner that you all can take something from here. Now, let me take this opportunity to welcome Professor Dheeraj Sharma, Director IIM Rohtak, to speak a few words.
Every year, IIM Rohtak organizes multiple events, and TEDx is one of the flagship events which is organized by IIM Rohtak every single year by the students. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about the theme for this year, and the theme is Myriads of Moors. I understand that the entire event is going to dwell on traditions, customs, so forth, which allow us to then forge an identity for ourselves. Now, if we speak from purely academic perspective, social identity is integral to everybody. It comes from the concept of self, and thereby many researchers have promulgated the concept of theory of self, understanding self, and self-concept. What does this essentially mean? It essentially means that all of us are craving positively, if I may say, to carve out distinctiveness from others. Now, this is really surprising because at the other end of this paradigm is something that individuals say is isomorphism, where individuals want to be alike. So if you would look around yourself, you would find several individuals who nearly dress alike and also talk alike, also behave alike. Yet every single day, those individuals are simultaneously trying to fit and simultaneously trying to seek distinctiveness. I think this allows us to dwell on this deep subject of why and how social identity is important. I believe that individuals are programmed to seek distinctiveness. All of us on every single day attempt to the best of our abilities to differentiate ourselves, to rise above others, to differentiate through our actions, differentiate through our thoughts. Now, while we are doing so, I think many other things come into play, such as the culture, language, traditions, customs. I'd briefly talk about the importance of customs, rituals, and traditions. If the entire world was alike, then the entire life would become dreary and boring. So in order for us to have stimulated interest in our everyday lives, I think it is important that customs, traditions, and rituals stay distinctive. In country like ours, you can travel every 50 kilometers and you might find a variant of language, change in customs and traditions, yet there is a binding element of Indianness in all of us. Now, the concept of Bharat, the concept of India binds us all and encapsulates the entire myriad of all the rituals, customs, traditions within it. All of us largely follow a very similar nature of customs and traditions, and yet try to seek distinctiveness within those customs and traditions. I believe as we engage in this pursuit of carving or discovering our social identity and carving an identity for ourselves, seeking that positive distinctiveness, I believe all of us must understand that we have importance of roles, we have importance of responsibilities, we have rights, simultaneously responsibilities. I always say that whenever we are in any pursuit, one must really work hard to achieve those objectives that one has assigned for himself or herself. But at the same time, one must be cognizant that our actions have an inherent influence on others. So, taking into account all of this, as we dwell and talk about this important topic and try to discover various things on this topic of myriads and mores at IIM Rohtak, I wish all the students the very best to talk about this important topic and also assimilate some of this in seeking positive distinctiveness, but at the same time celebrating the unifying factors which bind us all together with this great nation and the heritage and the traditions that bind us together. I wish you the very best. Thank you, and you have a pleasant day.
A very warm welcome to TEDx IIM Rohtak. This year we're going virtual for the first ever time, but we can assure you that the ideas worth spreading remain ever so powerful. With that, we'd like to now commence the event. Our first speaker for the day is Mr. Navin Gulia. He's an ex-army officer and a practicing Karma Yogi. He holds the world record for adventure sports driving. He drove from New Delhi to the world's highest mountain motorable pass called the Marsimikla at 18,632 feet in just 55 hours of non-stop driving. Mr. Gulia is also a writer, and his book In Conquest of the Last Victory is a bestseller in its category. And so is his Hindi book Veer Usko Janiye. Mr. Gulia is also an internationally acclaimed orator who has been invited to over 8 different TEDx talk events at institutions like IIMs, IITs, the NDA, and the Indian Military Academy. Mr. Gulia is also a social worker who works at his foundation called the ADA for underprivileged children. With that, I'd like to now invite Mr. Navin Gulia at TEDx IIM Rohtak to share his story of strength and courage.
Hello, friends. To begin with, I would like to express my gratitude that you considered a person of very humble means, very meager means, like myself, worthy of being provided this opportunity of interacting with you all. Now, when I came across this theme for this particular talk series, which is Myriad of Mores, my immediate response was, Bob's your uncle, which basically means that you're ready to go. Now, most of the people I interact with, meet, happen to make a statement that life is complicated, life is difficult. Whereas I personally believe that there is nothing more simpler than life. We, like any other species, are born with the talents that we require. It is because of the training of the society that we get crooked and then things get complicated. Now, coming back to the theme of the series, which is Myriad of Mores, which basically means the inherent characteristic of different societies across the world. And we, in the contemporary modern world, get to interact with different societies from across the world. Now, these societies developed their own inherent characteristics because of being geographically cut off from each other during history, when travel was a rare occurrence that would happen. There were only one odd travelers like Hyun Sang, Marco Polo. So the interaction was very less, and these societies developed into different societies with different characteristics. What is morally right here might not be considered morally right somewhere else. A woman, her face can be visible in this society, but in certain conservative societies, a woman cannot have her face visible to other people. In the West, a woman wearing slightly lesser comfortable clothes is okay. On the beaches, if a woman is wearing a swimsuit, it's okay. On the nudist beaches or the nudist societies, a woman wearing nothing is also okay. Absolutely normal. In Australia, if you show a thumbs up sign to someone, it basically means cheers, go on. It's a positive gesture to show your thumb to someone. In India, you show your thumb to someone when you are teasing him. Angutha dikha diya. And in Haryana, where we are right now, showing your thumb means I'm going to choke you, I'm going to kill you. Gutha de dunga. So in every society, the same gesture may mean different. Now the word mores is the word from which the word morality comes. And I have often made a statement that morality was invented by man so that he could attack those against whom he otherwise did not have anything. Because my definition of morality is different from your definition of morality, I can attack you, although you have not caused any harm to me. You eat non vegetarian food, I can attack you because it is immoral according to my practice. You are wearing lesser clothes than me, so I'm offended. I can attack you. So that was the negative impact of morality, having different moralities in different societies. Now, why we are not able to see the truth? Why life becomes complicated? You all, we all have been students up until now. And the job of a student is to learn. But when I meet students and I ask them, please tell me what is the flow chart? What is the algorithm of learning? What is the process? What are the 3 steps or 4 steps that you have to follow in order to learn? Everything has a sequence of steps. If you want to drive out, you go out, you check the air pressure of your car, you have a general look at your car, you open the door, you put the keys inside, you make yourself comfortable, you put the seat belt on, and then you start moving. You follow a certain sequence of steps. So, what are the sequence of steps you follow in order to learn? Do you learn by watching? Because what you are seeing can be wrong. We see that the color of the water in the ocean is blue, but we know water is colorless. We see that the sky is blue in color, although we know that air has no color. So, what you are seeing could be wrong. What you are reading could be wrong. What you are hearing could be wrong. All these are sources of inputs. And what you have been collecting up until now in your life is basically information. And if the information is not analyzed properly, it will lead to faulty conclusions. So, information is a different thing. Knowledge and wisdom are different. Knowledge and wisdom should be eventual products of information, of acquiring information. You have to analyze information properly. Now, some would say we learn by questioning. Well, you're right. But it is very important to know what questions to frame. I was watching a certain media coverage of the His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and a person with his intellect and knowledge At the end of the lecture, what was the audience asking him? What was the question they were asking him? The question was, can I have a selfie with you? So, what an inappropriate question to ask from a person who can provide you much more. So, it is very important to know what questions to ask, how to frame a question. Now, the first lesson in morality that the society teaches us is be a good boy or be a good girl. The first lesson in life. But did we ever question why? Why do we have to be good? Why can't we be bad? Bad people are also doing well. They also have money. They have resources. They have power. They have fame. So why do we have to be good? Do we have to be good because of the fear of God? I personally don't know if God exists or not. I have never met him. But I am a good person. On the other hand, you are good only out of fear of God. So if someone is somehow able to convince you that God does not exist, you will start off. It will become difficult to handle you. If you are good because your parents are going to punish you, if you are not, then if I assure you that your parents will not come to know, you will again go bad. If you are good because of fear of law, that you will be punished. So if you come to know, or if a situation arises in which you know that you will not be caught, you will again go bad. So those are not the right reasons for being a good boy or a good girl. What is the correct justification for being good? If you know that being good is a better choice, it is more profitable, it is better for your life, then you will be fully convinced that you have to be a good person. Next, I'm not providing you the justification or the reasons. I'm providing you the questions. You have to find out why being good is good for you. Next lesson that we were taught was respect our elders. So if we have to respect our elders, do we not have to respect people same age as us or those who are younger than us? Okay, we agree that we have to respect everybody. But then why do we have to respect everybody? Well, why can't we be rude? Why can we not be impolite? There are rude people in this world. There are impolite people in this world. And supposedly they are also doing well. So why do we have to be respectful? Because if we are not respectful towards a person, we will not learn anything from him. Even if what that person is doing is wrong, we have to respect him in order to learn that we should not be doing this wrong. So we have to respect our competitors, our detractors, our enemies as well. You cannot defeat an enemy you do not respect. Respect is very important. So for every basic lesson, we never knew how to ask the right questions, how to logically reason. If we cannot reason, we cannot find out the correct answers. So starting with this, and then the very basic lessons of life that we were taught in third grade, we forget them. It is like forgetting the ABC of life. And then we are more interested, obsessed about knowing about the XYZ of life. If you commit the mistake on ABC, the XYZ is not going to help you in any way. If you are traveling, you have packed everything very meticulously. You have prepared very well for that particular trip. But you leave for the trip and then you remember you have forgotten the tickets for the travel. It is like that. And that is what I see, that most people very so-called having lots of information. I would not use the word knowledgeable. Uh, Having a lot of information, thinking they are very intelligent, are frustrated with life, feel unsuccessful with life, feel like a loser because they have committed mistakes on the ABC of life. Those three lessons that we learned, most important lessons of our life, in third grade at school, third standard. First, work is worship. It may sound good to hear, you may write it at different places. That is not going to help you. I treat my work as worship. My work is sacred to me. It is spiritual to me. I am dedicated to my work. I would not attend a marriage. I would not attend a party. I would not watch a cricket match. I would not watch a movie. I would not do anything else when I'm doing my work. And nothing can distract me from my work. I do my work, I perform my work as if I'm praying with that dedication. So, first lesson was work is worship. The second important lesson was God helps those who help themselves. So, a possible universe creating God, a God that has the potential of creating a universe, is also limited in his abilities. He cannot help a person who does not want to help himself. I cannot help the world if the world does not want to be helped. I cannot be helped by anyone if I do not want to be helped. So do not bother unnecessarily about all the issues across the world and be ready to be helped. Be receptive to things. So that was the second lesson. The third lesson was don't keep all your eggs in the same basket. If you invest everything, if you invest all your emotions into one thing, say you want to become an Olympic gold medalist, you want to clear a certain exam, and in the process of it, that is the only thing you are capable of doing. So, if by a matter of chance, as a matter of probability, by some accident, by something else, if that particular opportunity is snatched away from you, there is nothing else that you have to fall back on. I wanted to join the army. I did training for 4 years. I did, but I was not able to serve. But I had many other interests. I liked adventure sports. I liked writing. I wrote poetry and I was a storyteller. I loved traveling. I uh, wanted to do a lot of social work and I wanted to earn my bread and butter. There were so many different things that I wanted to do. So even if that one option was taken away from me, I was not a sad person. There were many things that I could do with my life. I am not emotionally dependent upon one person. I feel the whole world is my family. Everybody, each one of you is my family. And when I have so many people around me, I do not have to be emotionally insecure of losing one person or two-person in my life if they decide to go away from me. It is part of my ethics that I am not going to leave anyone. But if a person wants to leave me and go, he is most welcome to. It might cause some pain. That's okay. And that brings me to the next basic lesson which we learned around the same age. And that was no pain, no gain. So pain will be there. Pain is a price we pay for learning. So for following our ethics. Now, if we have very basic things, like someone will tell you, I love you, you have to do this for me. And I would say that is strange. You love me and I have to do for you. If you love me, you do for me. I will do for you if I love you. And the word love, I do not believe in as much. I believe more in ethics. A person who loves you will hate you as much. A person who loves you will give up loving you. The word love basically means desire. When he says or she says, I love you, it basically means I desire you, I want you. It does not mean I care for you. You could look up the meaning of the word love in dictionary. So simple phrases are used to manipulate you. It is more important to care, that I care for you. I am more concerned about you and not about myself. So when we have this logical reasoning, then our life becomes simple. It is most important in life. Yes, you should definitely be collecting information in your life, but it is more important to analyze, to be able to analyze that information correctly. Someone says to me, God wants this from you. So I say, are you God? Or has God personally assigned you to communicate this to me? No, that is not the case. I'm not listening to God. I'm listening to you. So, when you know how to reason, when you know how to question, your life becomes very simple. So, Bob's your uncle. You're ready to go in life, provided you know how to reason, how to question, how to think, how to analyze. So, that is one idea that I thought I would discuss with you all. And I hope I have been successful in putting across my idea. I'll be open to any questions on this forum or otherwise at any time. And thank you so much for providing me this opportunity again. My best wishes are with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a motivating talk and an intriguing discussion. You have certainly filled our brains with new ideas, inspiring us to shatter all the boundaries. Moving on, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our next guest, Dr. Muhul Bhrama. Muhul holds a unique perspective towards luxury. His lenses goes beyond the myopic view of price tags and focuses on the mythological significance of luxury. Working as a chief editor at a Tata company, Muhul also heads the CSR division. He is an author, columnist, and a luxury commentator who has published hundreds and thousands of articles on the inclusiveness of luxury. The famous Lux trilogy, comprising of Decoding Lux, The Dark Lux, and The Lux Inferno, is authored by him. An alumnus of IIM Kolkata, MICA, Cambridge Judge Business School, and the University of Kolkata, Muhul holds PhD in economics. He is also a short film maker and actor whose first film was projected in Cannes Film Festival. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Muhul Bhrama.
Hi, my name is Dr. Muhul Bhrama. I'm thankful to IIM Rohtak for providing me with this TEDx platform so that I can share my story of luxury with you. Thank you, students. Thank you, faculty. And thank you, dear audience, for your time. So, the way I have thought about it is that I'll divide today's session in 3 phases. So the first phase will be to discuss about the conventional way by which we define luxury, which is through price tags and through exclusivity, through aspirations. In the phase 2, I will share my personal story that I'm not very proud of, but the story that has helped me realize something that perhaps wouldn't have happened in any other way. The third phase is the story of my new journey, on which I want all of you to join me, which is the story of inclusivity and the story of a life beyond price tags, story of looking at luxury from an all-new perspective. So the phase 1, I'll begin with, again, a story. Well, it's a real story. This was during the time of the zamindars in Bengal. wherein there was a lot of one-upmanship between the two zamindars. So primarily ego-driven battle on who's the richer. Not that it has stopped anyway. But at that point of time, it was extremely competitive. So when one zamindar, so earlier they used to use a palki, or a palanquin to go from one place to the other. They graduated to a phaeton, which is a horse-driven carriage. So when one zamindar brought in a horse-driven carriage with 2 horses, the other zamindar couldn't take it. So within 1 month, he also ordered for himself a similar phaeton, but with 4 horses. The competition became fierce. So the first zamindar added 4 more horses. So now he had a 6-horse-driven phaeton. Now this zamindar thought that let's add 2 more. Now this battle continued till the time when the first zamindar thought that, let's not get into this fight. Let's do something very different. So instead of horses, he replaced his carriage, his phaeton, with 2 zebras. If you Google, you'll see the photograph of this phaeton being driven by 2 zebras on the streets of Calcutta. This is what notionally we define luxury as. This is what notionally luxury brands define luxury as, because it creates a sense of exclusivity, price tag, creates a gap, a divide between haves and have-nots, exclusivity. Now, these luxury brands had a great relationship with the Maharajas of our times. And I take you back by, say, 100 years. So this is typically 1920s, when Rolls-Royce had its biggest market share in India alone. This is a time when the Nizam chose Harley Davidson for his 50 postmen to deliver his messages. This is a time where Maharaja of Patiala ordered the biggest consignment to Cartier in the form of a crown necklace, which had, I think, over 2,300 diamonds and a 235 carat De Beers centerpiece diamond. This is a time where the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir ordered customized Louis Vuitton trunks, for his golf set, for his spices. So he was a foodie and he used to carry this set of spices with him. And for anything and everything, for his bar, the glasses, the different glasses he used to have for different drinks. Now, typically luxury has historically, evolutionary, defined by this price, exclusivity, millions, crores, and what have you. So, price tag and exclusivity. This is what comprises luxury as of now. So now I'll take you to the next phase, which is of my story. So this is a phase of my life when I had started as a journalist. My editor, and I had moved to Delhi then, and my editor he was somebody who's completely consumed in this world of luxury consumerism. So he used to flaunt, the brands that he owned to all of us. And while I was not lured a lot, what he did was that he asked me to write on luxury. There was a magazine, and he asked me to write for it. And I started exploring this world of luxury, and he kind of pushed me into not only academically researching luxury by talking to brand custodians or the boutique managers, reading about its history and reading about the evolution of the brand, but also by luring me into indulging in luxury. Now, after the first push, I was all in, and slowly and slowly I got consumed in this world of luxury consumerism. It became my identity, the jacket that I was wearing, the watch brand that I was sporting, the pen that I was using, the writing instrument rather that I was using. And I started judging people on those lines. But the thing that happened, which was worse, is that my credit card bills and EMI kept piling. Because even after the 10th belt or the 11th bag or the 12th watch, I somehow, in my mind, was able to justify the need to buy another one. My bills were as much as a housing loan, and I still didn't know how to stop. I started borrowing from my friends to pay off my bills. It's a phase I'm not very proud of. It's a phase that I really don't want to live again. But it's a phase that I take as a learning, a life lesson. And I didn't realize that I was sucked into this inferno of luxury consumerism. And willingly. It was at that time that my father suffered a heart attack, and I had to come back to Calcutta. Given his health, I had no option but to relocate completely to Delhi. So in order to clear my debt to my friends, I had to, give off my luxury goods, some of it, actually quite a lot of it. They were happy, because it was at a cheap rate. But at that time, the shock of what really matters hit me, And that is when I realized that luxury is not only the goods, luxury is not only the price tag, luxury is not only about purchasing power. Because I loved luxury. Luxury is also about stories. So I started cleaning myself of this addiction that I had, of this luxury consumerism, and defining luxury only by luxury consumerism. And that was the time when my journey started as an explorer in the world of luxury, wherein I wanted to define it in a more inclusive way so that more and more people can join this voyage. In a way that more and more people can appreciate luxury, understand luxury, study luxury. And that is where my journey of finding the true meaning of luxury and finding the myth behind luxury started. And this, I'll take you to the last phase of my session. So let's talk a little bit about myth. Now, we all know what myth is, and we all know that how myth has the power to survive across centuries, across generations, and still remain fresh in our minds, cutting across geographies. Now, the secret ingredient that keeps myth alive is something called a mythic value. And what is this mythic value? The mythic value means that embodying two contradictions. So let me explain a bit. So if you remember, there's a famous sculpture by Auguste Rodin called Le Penseur, or the Thinker, where there is this well-built gentleman who's deeply thinking about something. And this has become the most important work of Rodin, which has survived the test of time. Because this image of this well-built man thinking is an embodiment of the two greatest contradictions of humankind: mind and body. So this embodiment of contradiction keeps the story alive, keeps the myth alive. So similarly, if I use this concept and studied luxury, using the various history of luxury of the various brands. And if you remember the story that I told you about the Cartier crown necklace, which was of Maharaja of Patiala, that crown necklace, is if you just imagine or visualize, there is this Indian native Maharaja wearing a crown necklace which has over 2,500 diamonds and 250 carat worth of a centerpiece of DBS. It is a perfect embodiment of two contradictions: East meeting West. And small wonder that Cartier still keeps that photograph in all its major stores internationally, including in Paris. And the moment, a visitor, it's displayed in a very prominent position. And the moment a visitor looks at it, they're very happy to share the story. The story of how East meets West. And that is what luxury is all about: stories. Stories of craftsmanship, stories of how a brand transcends from one form to another. Stories of, how in a small hamlet in Venice, you have the most beautiful work being done. The story of manners, the story of creativity. And the story of dazzle. So the word luxury comes from the word lux or dazzle. So what dazzles you may not dazzle me. But the real dazzle is in the stories. We in this world which is completely consumed by this luxury consumerism, we're all funambulists walking the tightrope. And it is here we need to reclaim our stories. And stories are for everyone. So you go and get your own story of luxury. It is for you. It is for everyone. The myth is for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muhul, for sharing those inspiring words with us. I'm sure everyone listening to you today had their thinking caps on the entire time. Now, I'd like to introduce our next speaker for the day, Mr. Anil Pradhan, aka the Ideas Man of India. He's an engineer, innovator, and a revolutionary educationalist. He's popularly known for designing innovative labs, teaching tools, indigenous rockets, and even projects that help solve the country's real problems. He's the founder of the Navonmesh Prasar Foundation and the School for Rural Innovation, which helps the underprivileged children in Odisha to gain an education. He is also the chief designer of Asia's first and the only multi-purpose student rocketry mission, and he has also developed a satellite to monitor the Hirakud Dam. Mr. Anil Pradhan's mission is to create a thirst for innovation among students and help students, regardless of their backgrounds, to achieve their dreams. Thus, with that, I'd like to now invite him to stage and share his story at TEDx IIM Rohtak.
Namaste. I am Anil Pradhan, a teacher, a social worker, and an entrepreneur. I have co-founded a non-profit organization which aims to create a scientific temper and cultivate the spirit of curiosity among young students. For today's session, I have thought of sharing 3 stories which perfectly justifies the quote, necessity compels us to outperform our limits. In the beginning of pandemic, when the whole country was in lockdown, everyone was locked in their houses, sitting in AC rooms and working from home. But in this situation, there was a roadside workshop near Chandika, Bhubaneswar, which grabbed the attention of any person walking past that outlet. Even a spark fly everywhere, the sight of slim fingers with painted nails, welding pieces of metals incites curiosity among onlookers. As the flame settles down, the worker keeps the face shield aside, only to take the passer by surprise. It's a young girl. Yes. This story is about Reena Baga. The pandemic pushed her family to poverty. The prolonged lockdown brought misery to the life of this 18-year-old Reena Baga. Originating from Bodh district in Odisha, Reena lives in a rented house here. She was pursuing her intermediate in art stream. Her parents are daily laborers. They had no jobs during the first phase of this lockdown. They couldn't even send her any money to travel back to her village. So she stayed back with not even a single penny in her purse, and she was helpless. It was then she decided to step out of her house in search of job and to earn some money. She first tried to seek for domestic help in nearby houses, but people were afraid of this virus, of this deadly virus, so they drove her away. And 1 month passed away, and she was still searching for a job. She kept searching in houses and factories. She even inquired vacancies in all the establishments that she crossed by in the neighborhood of the Bhubaneswar. The search was very tiring and gave no result until she found a roadside workshop. Yes, a roadside workshop. After multiple failures, desperate for money, Reena urged the workshop owner to offer her any kind of job. So the owner told her, the job in workshop is not for women, it's for men. So you can't do. But Reena argued. She told, "Mu bhi welding karebi." That means I'll also do welding. She had no other choice but to work, whatever she gets. She had zero ideas about welding. She even didn't know what kind of work is done in a workshop. But she was determined to work and earn. In the next 3 months, what happened is a kind of a miracle. It's all because of Reena's dedication. In this 3 months, Reena learned welding and other skills needed for metal fabrication. And she started earning 100 rupees a day. So the story doesn't end here. I'll come back to this story. So the next story is about Dati Danda Panipatra. So who is Dati? He hails from a rural village in Ganjam, Odisha. His father, the family's sole bread earner, unfortunately passed away. At the tender age of 8, Datti had to give up his education to start working. Fortunately, his uncle didn't approve his idea and he enrolled him into a school. Datti stayed at his uncle's house and continued his education till 10th. But further education was too expensive for the family, and at the age of 15, Datti went to the busy city of Bangalore in search of job and to earn some money. So during the tenure in Bangalore, he didn't spend a single penny on himself, as his income was not able to suffice the family of 4. So Datti had a childhood dream of serving his country, but because of his financial condition, it made it difficult to pursue his dream. He wanted that his brother would get some education. For that, he would need a better income. To get a better income and to become more skilled, he returned back to his own state, that is Odisha, and enrolled in Skill Development Institute. He is an extremely self-reliant person, and he didn't ask a single penny to his parents. He knew that his skill will bring glory to the country. I'll come back to this story as well. And the story doesn't end here. The third story is about Kailash. So Kailash worked with his father in a roadside cycle repair shop. Being the eldest, he decided to start earning. His family couldn't even afford to enroll him in an institute for his education. So Kailash had to earn by working different odd jobs so that he could enroll himself and keep learning. And due to this pandemic, his father's business also affected drastically because there was no vehicle around, and so is the case with the repair shop as well. Despite all the difficulties, Kailash managed to do something great. Something great. Now you must be wondering what's great about this story and what's common in all these 3 stories. The common thing between all this story is skill and the curiosity to learn and solve. When the country was in a standstill mode, we thought of engaging students through our virtual platforms. And these 3 are my students. We enrolled them for our outreach program by Navonmesh Prasar Foundation. We selected 10 students from across the state and we sent a proposal to NASA, and the rest is a history. This team named NAPSAT became India's first interdisciplinary under-19 student team to be invited for the NASA Rover Challenge. Reena, who used to weld doors and window frames in a roadside welding shop, now welds lunar rover. Kailash, who used to repair the bicycle, now works on fitting transmission of the lunar rover. And Datti, who wishes to serve his country, is actually a member of this team who would represent his country at the NASA Rover Challenge. These 3 children, along with 7 others from different parts of Odisha, will now represent India at the NASA Human Rover Challenge 2021. These 3 students of mine are an inspiration to all the rural youths, those who wish to impact lives. They made us understand that if you have the right skill and the spark to change the world, then surely you can change the world. Zid karo, dunya badlo. Thank you so much for listening me so patiently.
Thank you, sir, for an enlightening talk. We are grateful for your insights, which will continue to inspire us in our journeys. Our next guest believes in innovations that changes lives. Mr. Shrey Saxena is a second-generation social entrepreneur at Grow Diesel. He is an engineer and one of the top global applicants to be shortlisted by Stanford University. Shrey's first stint as a social entrepreneur began at the age of just 14. He is a public speaker of international acclaim and had several sessions on social entrepreneurship at organizations like Adobe, Stanford, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIM Kolkata, and IIM Shillong. Shrey has also served as the area director for non-profit District 41 Toastmasters International, which caters to North, East, and Northeast India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. The Great Social Initiative by Hero Cycles, which educated more than 2,000 students about cleanliness with the help of volunteers from across the globe, was shaped by Shrey. At Grow Diesel, Shrey feels blessed to fight climate change by converting wastes into biofuels. So without any further ado, let us welcome Mr. Shrey Saxena.
Oh, we started. Just a sec. Few weeks back, I recovered from COVID-19. It was a terrible experience for me. Not because I was having some breathlessness or fever, but because my taste buds stopped working for 10 freaking days. For a foodie like me, not being able to taste my favorite food was a terrible time. I discovered my love for food at the age of 6, when my mom introduced me to the Indian menu of McDonald's. The love since then has been so strong that even today, if I pass by those iconic golden arches of McDonald's, the 6-year-old inside me starts shouting 3 Mac Aloo Tikki without tomato, but 3 extra tomato ketchups. I fall in love with India every time I look at the diversity we have, especially when it comes to food. From the food in North India to the food in South India. From the food in West India to the food in East and Northeast India. I've had it all. Being in India but not being a foodie is like being on Tinder but not for hookups. But I soon realized that apart from pleasure, what food really brings to the table is guilt. Guilt in the form of organic waste. As per a report by Planning Commission of India, the total waste generation in India is more than 1 lakh metric tons. This is equivalent to 20,000 trucks of waste generation every single day. That means by the time I finish this talk, more than 200 trucks of waste will be generated. Out of this total waste, 51% is the organic waste, like horticulture waste, kitchen waste, slaughterhouse waste, etc. The 17% is the recyclable waste, like plastic, rubber, metal, and glass. And the remaining 32% is the inert or the construction waste. Unfortunately, most of this waste is being dumped at the landfills. Bringing greetings to you and your family, my friends. My name is Shrey Saxena, and I am a second-generation social entrepreneur at Grow Diesel. I'm fighting climate change by converting waste to wealth. My family has been deeply connected with the roots of nature. In India, the paternal grandfather is often referred as Dadu. When my Dadu was building a house 30 years back in which we today live, he only got the 70% of the house constructed. In the remaining 30%, he got a beautiful garden made with a lot of beautiful plants, flowers, and especially a mango tree. My Dadu was a school teacher who taught biology and was deeply connected with nature. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him. And I've always heard his stories from his 3 children, my dad, my uncle, and my aunt. But he left us a beautiful garden in which we today enjoy a lot. This gift has been so priceless that almost every festival is celebrated at our home. My friends, my father's friends, my mother's friends, and even my brother's friends, everyone loves to be at our home. In this Hindu festival known as Holi, even friends of friends turn up at our house. This beautiful gift has been extremely priceless. Talking about my mother took the legacy ahead as she found her love for gardening. She took one step ahead and she started doing organic farming in one patch. And she started to grow something which I absolutely hate: tomatoes. Talking about my father has been the most innovative person I've ever come across. He's always been this risk taker who nurtures innovation for the benefit of the society and environment. During his job days, he played a pioneering role in setting up India's leading mango drink project. He often joked that when a mango tree starts yielding mangoes, he will start his own mango drink business. That didn't happen, but something else did. In 2001, he decided to fight climate change through actions. He started working in the field of green fuels and energy. He believed that green fuels and energy can transform the economy, society, and environment. So under his leadership, our team started working on technologies that could convert waste into biofuel. It took us 5 years of research and 3 years of execution to master this technology. Through our patented technology, we can convert organic waste into compressed biogas, also known as CBG, and biofertilizer. And the plastic waste can be converted into green crude oil and biobitumen. This biofuel can be used for cooking, to run our vehicles, for road construction, in the industries, to generate electricity, and even to charge our electric vehicles. While some of you must be thinking if it's too good to be true, let me tell you that the first waste-to-biofuel project executed by GrowDiesel was inaugurated by the former Chief Minister of Delhi in year 2010. After that, we went on to work with several state governments. And from year 2010 to year 2020, through our projects, we have converted more than 250,000 metric tons of waste into biofuel. Through our projects, we have been able to reduce more than 30 crore kgs of carbon emissions. It would have taken more than 7 lakh full-grown trees to eliminate this number of carbon emissions. So you see, something has been in our family. It all started by my grandfather of having this initiative of having a mini garden at our home, followed by my mother, who started organic farming, and ultimately my father, who came up with a venture through which he could fight climate change. Today I'm standing in front of you to take something forward which my family began. I believe that I can take this forward by focusing on the communities. I truly believe in the power of communities. I did my first startup at the age of 14 with 3 of my school friends in the computer lab of Cambridge School, Indrapuram. The motto of our school was, "We learn to serve." 4 of us took it very seriously as we used to represent our school in various inter-school IT competitions. We soon realized that there was a huge difference in what was actually happening in the industry and what was being taught. So we decided to form this community by the name of INX Union, in which we could train students in different fields of IT, like coding, designing, editing, IT quizzing, and a lot more. Soon INX Union became such a hit that we started winning a lot of inter-school competitions. In 2013, we even hosted the inter-school IT competition for the first time in the history of Cambridge School in Indirapuram. This event generated a 6-figure revenue for the school. The entrepreneurship spirit which I have, it's all because of INX. Being in INX was a pride for every member, especially guys. Well, that might be because a lot of girls were absolutely mad for the guys at INX. But jokes apart, being in INX taught me the power of communities. Apart from INX, I've been a part of 5 different communities, and every community had a different objective. Just because of a community of adventurers, I was able to travel in 4 European countries with absolutely no money. That's right. Having witnessed the power of communities so closely, I'm convinced that a community can bring big changes. So apart from executing the waste to biofuel projects, we have started to build community of climate saviors. These climate saviors are the volunteers who want to do their part of fighting climate change. Through these climate saviors, we want to enable and inspire people to take actions to fight climate change. We took a lot of initiatives through which we could connect with the youth. For instance, we collaborated with a Formula 4 car racing team to increase the use of biofuels. Our team ended up winning majority of the races. In association with Hero MTB, we educated over 2,000 village students on cleanliness. In this initiative, people from more than 15 countries participated. We even collaborated with few travel startups for sustainable travel kits. And most recently, we even launched a mobile game by the name of Green Runner to connect with the youth even more creatively. So you see, everyone has to take some action. Because if you don't, you have absolutely no right to criticize the government, companies, or anyone for matters like pollution. We all contribute to pollution in some or the other way. But what matters is that everyone should take at least 3 actions to fight climate change. So I am going to suggest you few things which you can start implementing from today. Number 1, segregate your waste. Put the biodegradable waste in the green and put the recyclable waste in the blue. If you have a cook, teach him or her to do so. You can even put the organic waste in a vessel and later make compost out of it, like my mother. Number 2, shift to sustainable products. This t-shirt which I'm wearing is made up of 6 recycled plastic bottles. The stationery which I use is mostly made up of recycled newspaper or recycled cardboard. Number 3, start gifting plants or sustainable or recycled products on special occasions. I learned this from my 12-year-old cousin who's also a climate activist. Number 4, try to travel in public transportation whenever possible. Number 5, volunteer with organizations who are fighting climate change, like ours. Number 6, inspire at least 3 people to take at least 3 actions which I just mentioned. I would like to take this moment to request all the influencers or people from their team. If anyone is watching this video, I request you to please inspire your fans to take actions to fight climate change for our Mother Earth, because you guys can make a big difference. Someone has rightly said that one generation plants the mango tree, the second generation nurtures it, And finally, the third generation enjoys the mangoes. So friends, if today you decide to take at least 3 actions, trust me, 3 generations later, our planet will be a much, much, much better place to live. Today, you have the power to decide. You can either imagine your future generations enjoying their favorite food, or you can imagine them suffer. The choice is yours. So friends, let's together take at least 3 actions and make this world a better place to live. Namaste.
Thank you, sir, for such an inspiring talk. You have certainly given us food for thoughts and carved new paths for our inquisitive minds. Our next guest has a distinctive and versatile personality. Mr. Shashank Arora is an actor, music director, lyricist, vocalist, and a screenwriter. Born in Delhi, Shashank realized his pulse for arts at a very young age, and just after finishing high school, he moved to Canada to study cinema and music. After working for a brief period with a street theatre group started by a human rights activists, Shashank decided to move back to Mumbai to study acting and pursue his career in films. Known for his distinctive and versatile roles in Titli, Naman Brahman, Muthun and Made in Heaven, Shashank is the only Indian actor to have double competes at Cannes, Sundance, Berlin, Toronto and Locarno film festivals. So, let us welcome Mr. Shashank Arora.
Hi, my name is Shashank Arora and I'm an actor. I also make music and films for a living. Thank you so much to IIM Rohtak for the invite to speak today on your subject, which is, or your theme, which is a myriad of moors. It's my pleasure to speak to students. And firstly, I just want to begin by saying it's been a difficult year for all of us. 2020 has been perhaps the toughest year that I've lived through in my life. So I hope the batch of 2020 is holding strong, and I hope you realize that this year is perhaps something that will teach you about life more than any other year could have, and I hope you take it in your stride, and you realize that the challenges that have been thrown by 2020 will equip you for the rest of your life. And I hope this year has taught us empathy and sensitivity and reminded us that life is short, and that we need to live with compassion and love, which is the most important thing. So let's move on to my brief talk today about storytelling. Let's start by the fact that today, if you're watching this, I don't know where you're watching this from. If you're watching this at home, or if you're sitting in an auditorium, or you're at a friend's place, or you're watching this on your phone, no matter where you are, आज के दिन में ही आपने perhaps 100 यूँ कहानियाँ देखी होंगी, चाहे वो ट्रक के पीछे बनी हुई ड्राइंग्स हैं, चाहे वो न्यूज़पेपर है, चाहे वो इंस्टा स्टोरीज़ हैं, चाहे वो एक रेसिपी बुक है, या एक दोस्त के साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन है. These are all forms of storytelling, and storytelling is perhaps the most prevalent of human behaviors that exists, along with eating and making love and sleeping. And so storytelling is something that exists all around us in many different forms and shapes today. And let me just for 20 seconds जब मैं ये बजा रहा था, आप सबके मन में अलग अलग ख्याल आ रहे होंगे. कोई ये सोच रहा होगा कि ये कब बजाना बंद करेगा, कोई ये सोच रहा होगा कि मैंने सुबह से कुछ खाया नहीं, कोई सोच रहा होगा कि मेरी बॉयफ्रेंड या गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ लड़ाई हुई है मेरी और वो क्या सोच रहा होगा. So many different thoughts are going through everyone's head while they're listening to this song, while listening to this tune. And all these different thoughts are coming from the people you are. And if perhaps you discuss these thoughts with the person next to you, you'll find that even though you are very different people with very different experiences, there will be a certain commonality in the thoughts you had when you were listening to this song. And that commonality is people and emotions and places. In a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that stories have taken on so many different forms and effects these days that it's easier for us to feel divided by stories more than united. Storytelling exists in Kathakali, in opera, in No theatre from Japan, in Russian theatre, in Hollywood musicals, in Nukkad Nataks, in Delhi, in so many forms, in dances, in sculpture, in painting, in literature, of course. These are all different mediums through which we tell stories. And it's easy to get lost in all these mediums, and it's easy to find our niche and something we like, and it's easy to separate ourselves from another person in our choice of preferred choice of storytelling. I want to go into the origin of storytelling just for a minute, to perhaps challenge this sense of division we feel when we listen to stories sometimes. And these days stories are being told to us sometimes to divide us. Storytelling is also being used as a tool to divide people, and unfortunately we need to identify that as fast as we can. And you being students, you are the future of our planet, and there is nobody better than you to fight this fight of trying to unite the world. And so I want to go back 1,000 years. I want to go back to our religious texts, to the Greek myths, to Chinese folklore. So if we look at these texts, we find, of course, apart from the obvious cultural differences and the geographical differences and the differences in language and phonetics, we find that perhaps there are more similarities than differences. A lot of the myths, a lot of the religious scriptures, a lot of the epics, as we call them, a lot of them are about kings, a lot of them are about lovers, a lot of them are about families being broken, a lot of them are about living a peaceful life, a lot of them are about our relationship with animals, our relationship with nature. So our stories, in a nutshell, even though they're very different from each other, they do carry the same emotional parameters, because the people who are telling these stories are human beings. And so let's dive a little further back to a few thousand years before these stories came to be that we call the Greek myths or the Greek tragedies or the Chinese folklore. Let's go back many thousands of years before that. We, as a species, came up with storytelling not as a medium to entertain each other or to educate each other or to show our craft, as much as storytelling was a survival mechanism. So imagine with me if, let's go back 40,000 years ago, and we're living in a cave, we're all together in one cave, and two people from our cave go to collect fruits, and only one comes back to the cave later at night. There would be no way for that one person to explain to the whole tribe what happened to the other person unless he tells them a story of what happened, unless he or she tells the tribe that we crossed the river, and across the river there was a bear, and the bear attacked my friend, and my friend was killed, and I ran because I was scared, and I came back to the cave. Unless I tell this to my tribe has no way of knowing if I killed my friend or what happened or where the danger lies or where the food lies. So storytelling was a way for us to communicate to one another simple events. Storytelling is a way for us to make sense of the world around us. And I find comfort in the fact that this gives us a common origin to storytelling around the world. And what this explains to us is that human beings can only relate to events in a certain way, with love, with anger, with jealousy, with sadness. And so eventually these stories, they moved from an oral tradition to cave paintings, like the French cave paintings from 30,000 years ago, to carvings on stone, to dyes on cloth made from animals, to theatre and poetry, to literature with ink on papyrus, to cinema, and when social media came, to the internet, stuff like tweets and Insta stories, and of course our books and our literature. So even though storytelling took on so many different forms and mediums along this many thousand-year-old journey, it's easy for us to feel segregated by the stories and the storytelling themselves. It's easy for us to find differences within one another, but it's very important for us to know why we started telling stories. And why we started telling stories was to understand one another. And that should highlight to us the fact that we are not very different from one another. Our stories are always about the same things, irrespective of where we are from. If you're a kid born in Russia and you watch a Bollywood film on mute, it still affects you. It still affects your feelings. If you're from India and you watch an American a Hollywood film tomorrow, you still relate to that. Or if you read a piece of poetry written by an Australian author, that poetry still affects you. Or if you watch a dance from Latin America, like this, like the salsa, that dance still affects you. You still feel moved. So it's very important for us to realize as people that we are not very different from one another, even though we come in many different shapes, forms, sizes, and colors. Storytelling itself is proof of the fact that human beings originated in a common circumstance, that human beings go through very similar mindsets, that human beings experience very similar feelings. So in these days, in today's time, I think it's been 10 minutes since I've been talking. I just want to highlight the fact that no matter where you're from, no matter who you are and what your name is and what your parents do or what you like and what you don't like, you and the person in front of you share much more in common than you can anticipate. And I think that is something we as human beings need to carry with us for the rest of our lives. And that for us solves many a conundrum. And that solves for us many a moral problem. And storytelling is, the origin of storytelling is a subject that experts are very divided on. Because like the origin of language, it requires a very layered approach. But what we do know, like I told you, is that we perhaps share a common origin. And I hope those commonalities, they affect us much more than our differences. And I hope we respect our differences and acknowledge our commonalities. And I hope we can make this a better world.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative talk. You have definitely helped us develop new perspectives towards life. With a lot of great ideas and thought-provoking talks from great personalities, TEDxIIM Rohtak has almost reached the end. However, we cannot conclude without expressing gratitude towards all the team members who have worked enormously to uphold this event. Thus, it is now time for a vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir, for such a lovely and engaging discussion. Now we have come to the moment when none of us want to be. Alas, all good things must come to an end. As the sun sets on our conference, let us take a moment to recognize people who took an archaic and undefined phase, made it of more, and made it so much more. Our thanks goes to our speakers, Dr. Muhul Bhrama, Mr. Navin Gulia, Mr. Shrey Saxena, Mr. Anil Pradhan, and Mr. Shashank Arora. Distinguished individuals who have broken past traditional limits in their personal and professional lives and have become the living embodiment of our theme, myriads of more. Sirs, I believe I speak for each and every one of us here when I say this. You have inspired us, and we can only hope to follow in your footsteps in the future. Let us also take a moment to recognize the people we do not see here, people who have silently labored in the shadows, individuals who have been the driving force behind this conference, hand holding it from an idea to an event. Our TEDx team, we thank you. I would be remiss in my duties if I failed to recognize the heartbeat of our event, our audience, people who have today decided to join us in exploring our theme, myriads of more. We thank you for your companionship. We hope you found the event as enriching as we did. With this, we come to an end of our event, and as ceremony dictates, I declare TEDx Myriads of More closed.